Many of you are likely aware by now that Bethesda Game Studios recently dropped an official launch day announcement video. We now know that Starfield will be officially launching on September 6, 2023 for Xbox and PC with Day 1 Game Pass access. This announcement video came with a cool little story cinematic type trailer, but I'm not going to focus on that for this particular video. Instead, we're going to take a look at what's behind HOD Towered, and that is a few Bethesda employees playing Starfield on a pretty big TV. But unfortunately, it's not that big for us. Regardless, we got some new gameplay footage to discuss. Let's jump right in. So naturally, this footage, of course, becomes extremely blurry when I zoom all the way in, but this is what we got to work with. The first gameplay scene is of the player character visiting a planet that is definitely giving off some Mars vibes to it. Now, we do know that very early on in our journey, we'll be sent to the Old Neighborhood, which is what Earth's solar system is referred to as in the lore of this game. We also know that Mars will be a playable planet in Starfield, and that it will contain a settlement called Cydonia, which is one of the earliest settlements that humanity created after they left Earth for whatever reason. Underneath this inner circle on the player's HUD, which represents the planet or moon that the player is on, should be text telling you where exactly you are in terms of what planet you're on or what moon you are currently on. Although we can't hardly see anything here because it's so blurry, it does appear to be only a few letters, further convincing me that this is likely Mars, and we'll get even further confirmation of this a little later in the gameplay. When the player character looks back at their ship, you may notice that someone is following them, and I would say that this is most likely one of the companions. As to who it is, well, no idea, but it's cool to see a human companion, as we've really only seen Vasco, the expeditionary robot companion, up to this point so far in gameplay that's been revealed. There's not much else that's really new going on here. The player's ship looks very similar to the ship that we saw in the gameplay reveal. Now, for those of you that don't know this, we do know that ships will offer players a ton of customization. This player then starts heading out into the wasteland, and we get to see a change in perspective from the first-person perspective to an up-close, almost over-the-shoulder third-person type view. Now, we have seen this exact perspective in gameplay footage before, but moments later, the player zooms the camera out even further to what I'm assuming is going to be the max third-person view distance that you can utilize. It's kind of cool to see the camera out this far, and I do think it's nice that we'll have these different view perspectives to choose from as we play. When the player starts sprinting, you'll notice that on their HUD in the bottom left, the oxygen levels rapidly deplete, but also regenerate at a decent pace when the player stops moving. I don't know exactly how spacesuits work with oxygen and CO2, but in simple terms, this appears to be your stamina bar. The player then finds some loot and picks up what I'm guessing are health packs, and then this little crate gives them 2 other items, but I have no idea what they are. One of the items does seem to make a progression type bar appear on the left side of the screen. The looting here is giving off some major Fallout vibes. In this scene, the player seems to be exploring some ruins, but shortly after, combat erupts as bullets fly in and the player navigates around using their jetpack. When the player lands, we get to see a pop-up text telling us that we've arrived at a mech factory. I gotta say, I'm pretty sure that this text right here says Mars. The player then engages in some first-person shooting, and you notice that red pops up in the center of the screen, revealing the direction that they're being shot from. And this is when we get another look at the weapons selection wheel, and this player has it filled out much more than we've previously seen. Changing weapons in Starfield will not completely pause time. Instead, it will enter the game into a slow motion type state. We got to see 3 weapons in this particular section. I'm assuming that this is an AR, this might be an SMG, and then of course some type of handgun. Moving on to some more gameplay clips that are a little bit easier for us to see. In these clips, we got to see 2 beautiful in-game environmental shots. The first one is on the planet of Nessox, I think it says, and the player is gazing at a few interesting looking wind turbines, perhaps? The next scene takes place in a Grand Canyon-esque biome, and on the HUD it says Cassiopeia 1. The cool thing about that reveal is that with a little out-of-game research, Cassiopeia is an actual constellation that can be seen in the northern sky. It is named after Queen Cassiopeia, the mother of Andromeda in Greek mythology. Since this HUD says Cassiopeia 1, I'm assuming we'll actually also be able to visit 2, 3, 4, and 5 as well. This next gameplay clip shows a beautiful Jurassic Park-like biome, and you can even see a few creatures in the background that resemble the famed long-necked dinosaurs. This setting is Tau Ceti, Roman numeral 8. And Tau Ceti is actually a real single star in the constellation Cetus, which is 12 light-years away from Earth. We're talking real-life lore now. There's evidence of at least 4 planets orbiting Tau Ceti, with an additional 4 unconfirmed planets. A few of those planets are deemed as being potentially in a habitable zone, and Bethesda seems to be running with that theme with this particular planet, which seems to be planet 8 in that particular solar system. This next clip gave us a glimpse at one of the inventory systems, and I think this player may be in like a storage container or something like that. There's a ton of different helmets to choose from, all with different names and different stats. On the right side of the screen, you can see changing values that represent physical, energy, thermal, airborne, corrosive, radiation, mass, and value. It really does seem like Bethesda is going a little more hardcore into the RPG mechanics with Starfield. You may also notice on the bottom of the screen a hide helmet in breathable areas option, which is of course great. Inspect, sort, favorite, drop, and back. And the last new gameplay clip that we got to see is of this horrifying creature called a hunting, not exactly sure what it says, Maguthaw or something like that, and it appears to be level 75. The player then chucks a grenade at this creature when it pounces on them. I'm not sure I'd recommend that play myself. The location that this scene takes place in is Charybdis 3, and after doing some out-of-game research, there actually is a 388 Charybdis asteroid that orbits the Sun between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Another interesting find when researching this name is that Charybdis is also a terrifying sea monster in Greek mythology, as you can see in this picture right here. The creature that this player is fighting in Starfield, although it's not a sea creature, it still looks like its creation was inspired in some ways by the Charybdis Greek mythology sea monster. And for the last segment of this video, let's go over the document that Bethesda presented to us on one of their computers that an employee was working on. It's pretty hard to see, but I was able to make out pretty much all of it. So here we go. In brackets, United Colony's logo at the top, SysDef logo below it to the left, UC Vanguard logo below it to the right. And brackets end. Urgent communique. Please be on alert. Pirates of the Crimson Fleet have extended far beyond the Chris system and have established footholds in the Sagan, Cheyenne, Lunara, and Narlan systems. Both SysDef and the Vanguard are committed to ridding United Colony's space of these parasites. This is clearly no longer just a Freestar collective problem. Also be advised that the Crimson Fleet is not a single organized entity or faction. Rather, it's a loose confederation of individual captains, all organized under the same banner. Shown here is the symbol, or Jolly Roger, they've adopted. Anyone displaying that symbol is assumed to be associated with the Crimson Fleet, and can be terminated at ... Crimson Fleet logo here. Any questions should be addressed to Lieutenant John Tuala at Mast for the Vanguard, and Commander something aboard the UC Vigilance for SysDef. And then it's signed by UC Fleet Admiral Pascal Logan, MAST, which is Military Administrative and Scientific Triumvirate, New Atlantis, Planet Jemison, Alpha Centauri. So yeah, some interesting text there that touches on several factions and also solar systems. Clearly the Crimson Fleet pirates are becoming a problem for many. And those of you that are unaware, the Crimson Fleet will be a joinable faction in the game. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this gameplay below, and I'll catch you on the next one.